Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Elite Series League of Legends 2nd Division broadcast here on Rift Entertainment. Tonight, I shall be your host, and I will be accompanied by none other than the one and the only Freshtana. Welcome, Freshtana. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. Thanks to having me here. And of course, it's an honor to be here in the Elite Series together with you. Maybe it's just because I started my journey with you in English and now I'm here again with you. So it's always a pleasure to be here.
A bit of a back to the roots feeling we got there. The only thing missing is that we're doing it online. Would be beautiful to do it, of course, in physical, but it's a bit complicated with everyone being a bit all over the place. But yeah, still a pleasure, of course, casting with you. Always a good time. Now, today, I believe we should have some interesting stuff going on in terms of games and whatnot, because we'll be starting off with AOMA Esports against Reapers Gaming. Then we'll be following up with Dynasty against Aurora and finishing off with Rifslovs against Pertinax, because unfortunately Anvers had to forfeit their match to Once Upon a Team tonight. That's a bit rough on them. But still 3 banger matchups ahead of us. I'm especially looking forward for the first one with Reapers, who still have it in them to probably show something to AOMA, which are now second of the leaderboards. After last week, of course, suffering the defeats and allowing Rifslovs to finally stand on top of those standings all alone as the sole kings of 2nd Division, for now at least.
Yeah, definitely. So it's an important match day basically for every single team today. I'm really excited because some of those teams can really just try to get a little bit higher than the opposing team, and some of them can try to bounce back. For example, Reapers, they really had some losses the last couple of days. So especially now with Pertinax being next to them, it's really important for them to win. Of course, AOMA wants to settle as first place team finally, and all those interesting matchups and storylines they have today. It's really great to see, and yeah, we will just have some banger matchups where probably maybe the first one is the most exciting one in terms of just pure strength of both teams. But of course, like Dynasty definitely wants to just keep up the playoffs race, and of course, Rift Slots, they want to stay in the first one, want to stay on the first place. So they definitely have something to lose as well today. So they all will fight, and so it will be a banger game in the banger series.
Yes, tight stuff going on here in the 2nd Division. And of course, as you can see, I'm invited by the wonderful bar we have down here. Today, or tonight, is the last planned day of our charity action to help or to gather funds for the I forgot what the name is, but the non-profit organization, the charity called ABAP. They are helping people hit in Turkey by the recent earthquakes. Not only that, they do a lot more, but currently it's their main focus. And together with our good friends at Once Upon a Team and Dynasty, we started this action. So you can donate either through the PayPal we've set up especially for that, or you can immediately donate to ABAP if you want to help that cause, which is a great cause to help people in true need. So take advantage of the fact that tonight is the last chance to do it through us. Of course, it's not the last chance to do it at all. You can always do a good deed whenever you're up to it. I'm not going to limit that. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Just try to put some dimes in it. I think it's always good to just support people who need it, and I think we all can help. And with such a huge catastrophe there back in Syria and in Turkey. So if you have something, then you can definitely spend it for a better cause.
Yes. And of course, now I'll get back to the meat of the subject, Elite Series 2nd Division. We are in the 6th week. We are getting dangerously close to the playoffs. Of course, still week 4 that will have to be played since it was delayed. But we are still getting very close to the playoffs, which is why there's probably quite a bit of tension between the teams to try and still grab a good spot for those playoffs. But that also means that ahead of us we'll have the summer split. And of course, there will be some shakeups before the summer split because some other teams may join and some other teams may leave us, unfortunately. And just for that, we'll have the ESLOL amateur circuit, which already happened back in February in order to invite 2 teams into the 2nd division. And, well, we'll have very soon the next Open happening. And in April, we'll have another one again. And those teams, the top 8 of those, will be able to join the playoffs later in April, end of April. And the 2 best teams of those will play relegation against the 2 bottom teams of this 2nd division. And the best teams out of this, again, the 2 best teams, will qualify themselves for the 2nd division summer split. So those 2 last spots are the ones you definitely don't want to get at the end of this split. So Adverse and Once Upon a Team will need to buckle up to try and maybe throw off Aurora down there. And Aurora will have to fight tooth and nail in order to keep their spot here in the 2nd division.
Yeah, definitely. And especially like with the last match day where Aurora beat Once Upon a Team, they did a great job to maybe stay out of those 2 last places. And if they can fight against Adverse and maybe snag a win there, then Aurora could be fine. But still, the league can definitely shift all around. Even like the good playoffs and for the first 4 teams are not safe yet. So every single team, or at least from the higher places, still could get into playoffs, even though some will have a rougher time to do that, and some will have an easier time to be in playoffs. But in the end, everything is still open, and so we have still some deciding games ahead of us.
Yes, most definitely, and especially for Pertinax and Reapers, it's very important to demark themselves right now, because they are absolutely tied currently, 5-4 for each of them, and they share that 4th spot. Now, it's an awkward situation because you want the guarantee to enter the playoffs, and now I'm not sure if they're tied how it will be managed in the end. I'm not sure that's been decided yet, but you'd rather have a clear situation and if you were one of those teams, so they'll have to bring all win as they can, and that's why their matches will probably all be pretty interesting. All their matches to come, I meant.
Yeah, definitely, and especially Pertinax have a little winning streak at least going right now. Won their last 2 rounds, and Reapers of course lost the last one. So they are struggling a bit after a really good start in the league. And of course, we all remember when they got into the league as one of the qualifier teams. So Reapers definitely want to stay in the league and maybe even want to get into the playoffs. So they will fight their hardest, and they look really scary in the first half of our league. And now they will try to bounce back against AOMA. And here's it. The champ select is starting.
Yes.
And with the Karma ban, like it's a staple ban against Lore in the mid lane. He's just a really good Karma player. Wouldn't surprise me if we even see like the Olaf ban coming out. He is against Wind. Yeah, some bans you can always predict.
Yes, those have been staple bans throughout the 2nd division as well. I don't think like Olaf has been banned almost every game. I feel like we haven't seen much of him, and when we've seen some Olaf, it was pretty terrifying usually. Yeah.
Then of course, just some of those strong broken ADCs right now, especially Zaya in the hands of the right player can make a lot. But of course, we have the ADC Be Wise of AOMA playing a really good Draven and other crazy ADCs like Samira, so just ban them out, and in the end, Garbush now probably gets the most played champion with the Wukong, so it's still a flex pick for maybe top lane, for maybe mid lane Wukong if someone wants to play it, but it should be the jungle Wukong, which is a stable pick right now. He isn't dropped out of the meta, and he will always be strong, so I really like the Wukong.
Yeah, a very strong pick. We've seen him also another one of those picks we've always seen throughout the second division, and yeah, especially in Hands of Gabush, he's been a beast playing him, and we might see AOMA capitalizing on that and going for one of those team fighty comps where they can really make good use of that Cyclone. On the other hand, Reapers go for a Tristana and a Jarvan as well. So we probably already have that jungle matchup of Jarvan against Wukong, two junglers who can show some pretty early aggression because they have some great gank potential. Although I do think I would give my piece to Jarvan for the early game if he uses it well.
Yeah, definitely. Like especially level 2 ganks, red buff into gank. You have your CC. You can just lost someone. So Jarvan definitely the stronger early champion, but in the late game, especially with those 2 knockouts from Wukong, it can be a bit spicy. There's Kalista. If we talk about spice, Kalista is really spicy, and of course Annie is picked up as well. At the moment, still a flex pick between mid lane and support. And maybe even Kalista is a flex pick, but if your name is not Carrier, then don't pick Kalista support. It should be the Kalista ADC. And there's Blitzcrank as a little counter pick against Kalista, but she's pretty mobile, so it's really hard to get her.
Yes, definitely. And actually, that Annie pick here really interesting. With a Kalista as a support could be devastating on one hand because you just have that all-in ability to put your Tibbers down if you want. So that's pretty terrifying. But the Kalista ulti always also good on a Wukong. Imagine you just have that Wukong thrown onto you and he just immediately cyclones. Absolutely dangerous.
Definitely. And I have a little how's it called, deja vu, because in the last series with Reapers against AOMA, we had this Fiora on Mark, and I think he got the MVP for that because he got 3-man dived on top lane and he just outplayed it and got 2 kills or something. So this man was on a mission in their first matchup, so they don't want to face it again. They got 2 split pushers of Mark, and on the flip side, Orianna and Cyan gets banned from Wind and Laura, respectively.
Yes, I think that's very wise to ban the split pushes because especially with like this Wukong, Kalista, Annie, they already have some pretty good tools to do stuff on their own, meaning that the top laner could easily split push their way through the game.
Yeah, and there's the Renekton, one really good champion of Wind. It's the second most played champion, so we will definitely expect a lot of him on the top lane. And Mark, I think he needed to play the tank in the last game as well as Sejuani. I can't quite remember it, but I think it was the Sejuani top lane for him. So, and especially together with Wukong, you always have a lot of CZ because normally with Sejuani you want like a melee jungler, or if you play Sejuani jungle, then you want a melee top laner just to have those stuns ready. And there she is for the top lane. And she should have a fine matchup against Renekton. Not that she's winning it, but she should survive at least. And now we even have the Azir. So we know it's Annie as support for Kalista, which is really, really strong because you just throw her in. So the short range, if you normally you need flash ult, flash tibbers to really engage, but with Kalista you get thrown in to then land your tibbers. So I think that's pretty huge CC and engage here from AOMA, which should definitely work. And the Azir kinda is even a little bit of disengage, especially against Jarvan, against Renekton, against Tristana, who jumps in just to bounce them all back, to have this little bit of safety in your team. I quite like AOMA's draft already.
Yes, I'm also a big fan of it. They have so much potential, and definitely this is I like to say an AOMA classic almost to have them with those explosive teamfighty comps. Like it's not just they're gonna slowly get an engage. No, they're gonna go in, bam, with all they have, and I mean they have the perfect lineup to do something like that. The other hand, Reaper's also rather interesting. I really like that bot lane here, as you said. The Blitzcrank could do some work because if one of them gets grabbed, it's already gonna mean trouble for that bot lane. If be it any pre-6, I mean, I don't think a player like Emil will grab an Annie that has stun ready and triggers ready, so it should be fine. I think that's my phone. I'm just gonna put it over there. Sorry. Uh,
Yeah, that could be the weird mechanics in those fights, because normally you don't want to hook in the Wukong just that everybody gets knock up. You don't really want to hook in. Arceus is even strange because he just will knock you back with the shuffle. So there's just maybe 1 or 2 targets you can hook and which won't hurt you, because if you hook any with the stun into your team, then it could be ripped. So
Yeah.
Blitzcrank really is a wild card in this game. And if he lands his hooks, if he dominates the bot lane, and then with those with the strong bot lane, you can snowball the game, then it's fine. But usually, it's hit or miss. And if the split rank isn't working, then it will be a really rough time for Reapers, in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely. You should be getting the game very soon. Of course, a bit of waiting time, loading screen, and setup, and all that. But overall, very interesting team comps we've got there. Who do you put your money on, Tristana?
Yes, it's difficult, but I think AOMA, especially because they have like at the moment a really good run going, and Reapers looked a little bit shaky in the last couple of matches, and then the Blitzcrank wildcard pick is always a flip, and I think AOMA definitely did some great stuff in the last couple of games. So I really think that AOMA's draft is a little bit better.
I really do like the combo, but maybe even if only for the sake of it, I'll put my money then on the underdog of this matchup on Reapers Gaming. What I really like there is they've got one thing going on for them. They can absolutely annihilate towers. If they play this correctly, they could maybe just if they get slightly the upper hand and can shuffle around the map correctly, they should be able to take the wind out of AOMA Esports, and this could be a very beautiful win for them.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I put my money on them, and we'll see what's going to happen in this matchup. Of course, we'll remind it again, very important for Reapers to take any win they can in order to get the best of Pertinex in their battle for the 4th spot here and the playoffs, which first off mean honor and glory, and secondly mean more prize money, which is, of course, always a very, very big factor for teams when you compete in tournaments like this.
Yeah, totally. And like if you have 2 teams who are head to head at the moment, like Pertinex and Reapers, every single win and every single loss matters, right? So if one team struggles today, if Reapers, for example, loses the match and Pertinex wins, then it's maybe even over for Reapers. So if both win, then it's just always even, and if both loses, it's always even. But if one struggle, then it could mean that the playoffs race is over. So it's really an important match today for Reapers. And when I first saw like the Tristana got locked versus Wukong, I had this little deja vu from Dynasty against AOMA. I think Tristana was played by Lotus, and he got just picked by Scal's Wukong, for example. So that was really some deja vu there. But we are in game, and yeah, the people run to the lanes. And after our first couple of seconds where they are teleported, we are now back in business.
There were small lags because of the early pause made to the game. Reapers going for, well, what you'd expect of them with a Blitzcrank. There's nothing else to do, really. And AOMA should expect this. Yep. Here we scout. And they stayed under the turrets. Very gently. Not going for any risks.
Yeah. And that's is really expected. Normally, if you see Blitzcrank, you know they will invade. So there are a couple of sneaky routes for Blitzcrank, or you can just walk into the Dragon Pit and make a blind hook, for example, in one of the troop rushes, just because everybody expects you to invade. So they will cover like the normal invade routes. But if you just hook into a brush where maybe someone sits in, then you may get something. But of course, AOMA was smart enough to not do that. And now the game starts as normally. But of course, there Gabosh already is at the red buff. So the sneaky little invade. And now it depends if Trinket knows about that and if he just invades the red buff of Wukong as well. Otherwise, he will just lose one buff for nothing.
Yes, and Wukong, I mean, Gabosh is already also taking Raptors. I have to see how Trinket reacts to that, and also how Gabosh reacts to that. There's a lot of mind games who go into this kind of stuff, but I think he's gonna get some disappointed here, Trinket. Actually, now that I think of it, no, never mind. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the river, there are 2 blue wards. So they definitely wanted to be safe from an invade of Trinket, so that they would knew if he knows that his red buff is stolen, he will go for the red buff invade. And with those 2 wards, Oma would have knew if he would have went for that. But because he didn't went for that, he now goes for the mid lane gank.
Yes, Lotus is able to see it coming in time. And yeah, Trinket realizing Raptor's missing, not losing any time, deciding to go for a mid gank, rotating towards the enemy's Raptors to at least get something back. But Gabosh is on the way, so we could have some interesting stuff going on there, especially with Lotus so close. Trinket has to be careful there. Didn't see if he got it, but now he has to flee. You know, on the top lane, we might have first blood here going to Wind. Oh, Max turning the situation with his Ignite and CC. He's able to survive it, almost kill Win. Close situation there.
Oh man, both top laners so close to dying, and especially this Ignite was like the winning factor, at least from Mark's side, because without he would just have died. But then Wine just saw he gets ignited, so he needed to flash into the brush to just maybe don't get more minion shots, maybe don't get the next W or something. So he played it really close, and now he can probably even try to dive, but it's close.
Yeah, looks for it, but Mark knows what's up. With 2 stacks, it's a bit too dangerous. He defends himself, but Mark wasn't able to maybe handle that wave as he wanted, losing some farm there. And well, if Wind keeps that up, he's going to be able to slowly but surely get himself a small lead in CS, especially since Mark now is getting really low on mana, an issue that Wind won't have on his Renekton, of course. He just keeps on pushing that wave in as much as he can.
And just look at the junglers pathing to top lane. They try to...
Here comes Trinket. We might have the tower dive. The knock-up stands the stun. That's first blood going to Wind without taking any damage himself. That's a clean tower dive from Reapers.
Yeah, and like there were 2 types of plays Reapers could have done, but maybe there's the 1v1.
And 1v1, but Mac did TP to the top lane, so Wind has to be careful, but Gabosh is already very low. You need to use the 2 dashes on the bot lane. Meanwhile, the situation is also getting a bit more tense, but Reapers should be able to get out of this. Now back to the top lane.
And more action. Always good for a play-by-play caster. Bad for someone who wants to analyze this top lane dive, but anyway. Then I will not mention what plays they could have done if they just want to fight. It's fine, it's fine. And yeah, they even like shadow each other just because there could be a jungler around, so Gabosh just stays behind Mark, and oh, it's so close. And look at the Ignite's cooldown. So just in a couple of minutes, maybe in 20-30 seconds or something, he has Ignite, and if he times that correct, he can just kill Wind, and Wind maybe has not the cooldown in mind. So maybe he just dies.
Looks for the bait. Gets very low. Has level 6, which should help him in on the mid lane. Very nice ultimate from Lotus. He is going to flash out of that Ziggs ultimate, and Emil now with the Ignite is probably gonna die. Yes, he is. And on the other side, on top lane, it's Mack, who has to believe in himself. He is trying to flee from Trinket and Wind very low, but Wind is so low as well. Gabush flashes in, gets the kill on that Renekton. Wow, so much action already.
It's horror for every single color card. There's action again. Oh, come on, guys. but nothing happens. Yeah, but great roams from both supports, just covering mid lane, and then of course, like if one of them just goes to roam and the other doesn't, then you will probably see a kill there. But because both supports covered the roam of the other support, you didn't see anything there after a great shuffle by Lotus. So just a couple of flashes went down in this exchange. And then, like I said, I think Wind kind of forgot about the Ignite cooldown. But then with his ultimate and with the Q healing, he had enough health to survive it. And in the end, it was a 2v1 against Mark. But then there came Garbage. So both junglers really play around their top laner right now, covering them. Because it's really an explosive matchup, especially with Renekton, who is a lane bully. So he really wants to don't let him snowball.
So yeah, we have the aggression on the bot lane, stun landing on real MJ, but he was able to W first. That top lane matchup is kind of insane. I mean, they just keep exchanging blows over and over again.
Yeah, normally Renekton will win it in the end just because he has more sustain. Because Renekton with his Q has always some sort of lifesteal, and now he even bought a Vampiric Scepter, so he has even lifesteal on every single auto attack. So every time they trade each other, you can just heal them up, and slowly but surely will out-trade the Sejuani, and especially if we just look at the farming situation, like Renekton is already out-farming Sejuani, and mid lane even is already out-farming the Azir, so there's plenty of differences there.
But Max goes in with the Glacial Prison, hits it on Lolo, who is gonna die there. Cyclone also dropped as well as the Imperial Mandate. That's a pick for AOMA.
Yeah. In the end, AOMA kind of plays those skirmishes a little bit better than Reapers. So on the individual basis, Reapers looks a little bit stronger just from laning perspective. But especially in terms of team play and in terms of rotations, AOMA just hit the mark and just know how to rotate and when and where to help. And now they both do a object, of course, like AOMA does the Drake, the first one. Meanwhile, Reapers goes for the first Herald of the game and for this little cross-map play to punish the dragon taking.
That's something I really like here in the second division of the Elite Series League of Legends. Usually, like I feel like almost every time either Drake or Herald is taken as first objective, there's always a cross-map play to take the other objective.
Yeah, you don't want to lose something while the enemy team like gained something. And like back then, when the Herald was even stronger, it was really worth it. But now they stopped Mark from recalling.
It is stopped Mark from recalling. We have the gank here on the top lane with Trinket as well. Mag is trying to play around, stays in the bush, trying to bait them out, and is able to get under the turret. Very nicely played from him, dancing around his lane like that.
But they have Herald and they have 6, so they could go for this turret, but look at the map. There's Annie coming, there's Azir coming, so it could be dangerous to take it, but no, they have just enough. And of course with 6 you really want the Herald just to take down the turrets as fast as you can. And in this case, the Drake wasn't that worth compared with this Herald who got 2 charges and a full turret.
Yes, here comes Edward. Easy ski and wind. Not gonna look for more aggression. Trying to find a path here. We might have a chance. We have the stun going on Wind. Glacial Prison going out. Another stun coming out. Trinket goes in on the res of AOMA to hold them back. But here we have the Tibbers falling and Gabush coming in with the Cyclone, hitting 2 people. Lotus along with him. They're going to take down 2 members of Reapers, while the rest of their team takes down Wind, who was stuck there.
What a wonderful team fight. And there we could really saw how good the engage of AOMA is. They can just always try to go for it, and like they started with the first Annie stun, then they started with the first Sejuani stun, then the Annie stun, then the next Sejuani stun. So a lot of just getting more time to chase them down. And in the end, especially Garbage just smurfed this team fight, just killed everybody there. And AOMA and Reapers, we saw a glimpse of their team comp, especially with this Jarvan into 6 wombo combo, where they just put them into prison and drop a huge bomb. But if your carries are not that fat, then it doesn't deal too much damage. And there's Trinket on the way to maybe kill botman. But they just step away. So nobody will die here.
And we had a small glimpse of Boos's damage already. A few auto attacks on Real MJ with his 3 long swords, dealing a ton of damage. Really threats in 1v1s.
Yeah, Kalista normally is a lane bully, and that's quite exactly what we can see in those little 1v1s. There you can see the poke just so strong. And Tristana is not that bad either in the 1v1, but especially against Kalista, it's not the best 1v1 setup, because every time Tristana tries to go for poke, she needs to go for an all-in, while Kalista can just stack some spears into a minion, then throw the Q, and then just rent it, and will basically poke you while she's farming.
Yeah, you have the tower dive maybe on the bot lane. Zamil is perma CC'd, able to flash away, save himself. Situation got very close there, because now Lotus is also there. All of AOMA on that bot lane trying to get a kill. Unfortunately, didn't come to fruition.
And we see that AOMA definitely just rotates a little bit better and tries to go for those teamfights. But on the meantime, Wind, of course, gets a bigger and bigger lead in this 1v1 and even gets some turret damage done. So if they don't treat him right, then he takes down maybe a second turret, maybe later in inhib and stuff. So that could be dangerous if they don't waste at least some resources into this Renekton.
Absolutely, here Wind. He kept doing his thing on the top lane meanwhile, and that top lane turret is already looking pretty beat up.
Yeah, especially with this late item build. I mean, he has just more attack speed, and he can just take down those turrets quite fast.
So still a very close match. We can see, although AOMA has a great lead in terms of kills, gold lead really not that big due to notably Wind's CSing lead, which is absolutely insane. 40 CS already. These turrets. Here we have the hook hitting onto Amiel. We silence him in order to avoid counter-engage, forcing Burst to use his own ulti to save him.
Yeah, Wise was quick there to help Edward. Even though, I don't know if Edward could have just went for Tibbers there and just burst maybe this Blitzcrank down, I don't know. Woo!
Oh, here we have the engage from Meozi go on to Amiel, and Real MJ try to help him, is going to get caught into Cyclone as well. We have the first kill falling. Now they're going to go for the tower dive onto Real MJ, which is not going to survive for very long. He will also be able to take that turret. We get the return kill. No, never mind. I misread that. Wind now all alone in the middle of AOMA is not going to be living for long as Boas takes up the kill.
Yeah, what a team fight, and especially like they had that right idea to hook out Kalista, like one of the most important targets, and one of the targets you can hook, because otherwise your team maybe loses the team fight if you hook the wrong person. And then Tristana jumped in, but we will have maybe an engage here.
As we have here Mac catching onto Trinket with stun, hitting. In the meantime, Lotus getting grabbed here. We go all in onto Trinket, try to get that kill. He is not able to survive, and the rest of AOMA now in the middle of it is going to be able to split Reapers up. Real MJ on the sidelines trying to get some damage in, is able to defuse the situation.
Yeah, and like that's the biggest problem. The Blitzcrank is just a non-factor, and you are just playing sadly with a champion who only can like hook the wrong target, and in the end, even in lane they didn't got a lot of it, and then he just did one roam or something where no kill was getting down. So in the end, this Blitzcrank didn't really work out like Reapers might want to have it, and then. Which is really sad to see that Wind at the moment with 1-3 has the worst stats, even though he is probably the strongest member from Reapers right now.
Yes, and we can see that AOMA does know that, and they are trying to stop him here. 2 people onto him to stop him. 3 even, with Mac now joining in, and he's not going to be able to get out of this. Does his best though, even using Flash. In the meantime, Lotus, in all ease of mind, doing that Herald. Not giving another one to Reapers, because we know how dangerous they can be in terms of pushing, as Lolo in the meantime took that bot lane turret boost, beautifully dodging the skill shots here. And now Mac catching the little rat here on the bot lane, stopping him from pushing any further, but he's going to be able to go towards Trinket to try and save him perhaps. And Formal Bomb to try and finish off Mac maybe with the damage of his team, but that's not enough. While we thought that maybe the Reapers could be taking the overhand, it's AOMA who is keep pushing onto them, setting a quick pacer and always pushing Reapers back towards their base. Now putting down the Herald on the mid lane, not even needing the charge on tier 1 turret, immediately going for tier 2.
That tower should fall as well, and probably at least one more charge, but I don't know if they want to force anything. They could.
Yeah, we have the hook hitting, we have the team fight going on under the turret, but it's not looking good for the Reapers, as Trinket is gonna die after Real MJ. Wind coming from behind does put some damage on the enemy team, but it's not enough as he dies to the hands of AOMA. And now it's Lolo all alone trying to defend his base.
He has some wave clear, and in the end he will defend the base. Or maybe he gets Mark. No. In the end, he doesn't. So it's in really early in heap, especially in like it's minute 18. We have 17 kills already. Like it's a big gold lead, 7k, and like AOMA, just like I said in the champ select, it's like really easy to play draft, and they just play better as a team right now. We see every single rotation of them works. The early game with the invade worked, and then. They can always just send some guys to the Renekton to kill him, and then there was like the 4-man play bot lane and the tower dive and stuff, so they just really play well as a team right now, and Reapers can't really find something. And if we just look at the team comp, they can only engage if Blitzcrank hooks someone, but like there are 4 bad targets for that, basically. And then you have like the Jarvan, who built full class cannon right now. So if he jumps in, he is probably just dead. And then yeah, there's Wind, but he is split pushing and is building full class cannon as well. So if you just build damage on your frontliners and your frontliners are behind, then you have no frontline, sadly. And with that, AOMA will just rush them down with their own frontline, who is tanky and strong. Like we saw with Mark killing Lotus in the 1v1, and yeah, it's a really rough game for Reapers.
Yes, they do look to try and get that hook that could maybe give them the upper hand in a team fight, because they know that 5v5 AOMA is gonna take the win, and they always move 5 people around because they know that if they're complete, they have the win. Pretty much assured with the explosive team comp here.
But now there's the Baron. And as long as Trinket is not stealing it, oh, good hook.
Yeah, good hook here coming in from Reapers as they take a hit against Lotus, but now return kill onto Emil, and the Reapers have to flee a bit, try to grab that Baron here, maybe the steal. Yes, here comes the steal from Trinket, with Nasher going to the Reapers and Dam grabbing some sweet objective bounty as well with that.
Yeah, wonderful steal there. But in the end, there's Mark trying to get a catch. At least get the flash. And of course, Dragon spawns, so they can just take down Drake soon. And then there's Soul Point, so even though they lost this Baron, it will not really matter in the meantime. I mean, actually, it's just 5k gold, especially with this bounty gold on the Baron. They had a little comeback in terms of gold, but it's still 5k, and the team fights just look rough. They can't really play them, so I don't believe that this Baron steal will change anything in terms of the outcome of this really dominant game by AOMA.
Yes, definitely. I mean, AOMA, even though Ziggs was in the hands of Reapers, they came here with the explosive. With this explosive comp and this explosive like turn of events where they really took a big lead in this game, and they're using to its fullest. But of course, Reapers still trying to get what they can get here with Wind, pushing that top tier turret, second tier turret on the top lane, using their Baron as much as they can.
Yeah, and I mean, he is almost by the Flame Horizon, so he almost has 100 CS more than his opposing top laner. But if we just look at the stats, I mean, Sejuani is basically everywhere. If we just think about that, she has 17 kill participation out of 18 kills as a top laner. I mean, it's an island, but basically it's an island like as big as a continent. This Sejuani is everywhere and just gets every single assist, leads the charge, and basically doesn't need any CS because of the assist gold and because of the kill gold. I don't know if the Regie can show us the gold if they just press X. Yeah, like just 1k, even though Renekton has like 80 minions more or something. I mean, that's amazing. Just by turrets, just by assists, just by kills. Thank you, Rishi. And yeah, this Sejuani is really huge, even though she doesn't farm.
Yes. Good game from Mac here. We find the engage on sides of AOMA, and we just explode the hell out of the Reapers as two members fall down in a matter of seconds. Trinket is next to go, and Lolo and Real MJ, which were well positioned in the back line, are able to survive a little bit longer. Do their best to escape. Nice Q here from Bilwiz as he skewers the hell out of the Real MJ. Now Lolo, again, last man standing, is able to at least push those waves back in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, and that should be the game. I mean, they don't have a wave, so they will just go out of the base and probably will just play for Baron and Soul, and after that will finish. But that was just, again, clean enough to get something. Oh, that's so unlucky. Oh, no. But I don't know if he even could have killed her, to be honest. If Blitzcrank 1v1 on this Kalista, I think Kalista just breaks his neck and runs away or something, so maybe it was lucky for him to not stop her there.
Yes. Now AOMA with some newfound money in their pockets, able to reset, to take the time to finish this game. It was so close now, unfortunately no wave, and I mean, good thing Lolo has some insane clear, because he's able to make short work of any waves that come in there.
Yeah, and it's really surprising that we just see like 4k gold.
Here we have Amiel with the catch onto the Bilwiz, who is getting very low, very fast. That's the shutdown going to the Real MJ, but now the rest of AOMA in the middle of it are able to take the kill on Amiel. Wind looking for purchase there, finds it onto Lotus, takes a kill along with Lolo. They are able to do some real damage in the enemy back lines. In the meantime, however, Gabush is able to kill the AD carry, and now situation has turned around with that Tibbers. AOMA is able to push back Wind, and Lolo was also going to die now. And that's the ace going to AOMA, who are now definitely going to finish this game.
Yeah, they should have the wave. They should have the members to do that. And yeah, it was a clean team fight. And in the end, Winst tried his hardest to stop it, and they actually can't finish. But especially like Ryan just flashing over the Azir wall, one-shotting the Azir, and Rewise after this good engage by Trinket by Lola just dying in the burst. So they had a really good engage there, but it's just the big pockets of AOMA who just let them win every single team fight just because they are richer, they are stronger, they play better together, and that definitely works out for them. And I mean, now's the time where Reapers really needs to show us that they want to make a comeback, because now the soul is spawning, and it's a hex soul, so it's a really strong soul, and they definitely won't give it up. And then of course there is a Baron, so you could even trade for Baron, for example, but they just want to contest the soul right now, coming with all 5 members, and that could be the critical point of the game.
Yes, definitely now 5v5. It missed the fact that Bois died in the last team fight. That's such a new sight. And Mark looks for the aggression, goes in the middle of the Reapers to hold them back. Meanwhile, we try to get that Drake. We get it again! Trinket with the second steal in this game. But in the meantime, the AOMA is taking out Reapers, but it's still looking rather good. In comparison, we get some kills, we get some shutdowns, but it's not enough. And the ace does go to AOMA. And this time around, with Bois still alive, should be able to finish this game for good.
Yeah, I mean, Trinket really did everything he could, stealing Baron, stealing the soul point, Drake, then in the end it wasn't enough. I mean, what a man, just stealing two times in a row and losing, which is really sad for Reapers. And of course, AOMA needs this win to take maybe the first place in the group if Rift struggles today. But yeah, that's a really dominant victory. I mean, 32 to 6 in terms of kills. What a game by AOMA.
Yes, very strong display of skill here from AOMA Esports, as they are able now to well, get ever so closer or back closer to the Rift Slavs. They're now tied in terms of points. Of course, Rift Slavs still having to play today. They will be playing against Pertinax. Pertinax, which have been showing quite some surprises lately, with their win notably against Dynasty, if I'm not mistaken. Haven't shown that well, this RAM is able to ram some big teams here and there. But yeah, I believe before we get to the next game, we will be headed into a break, most probably 10 to 15 minutes as usual. As the usual time we need to get the next team set up and ready. So yeah, don't forget to donate some money for this charity cause of ABAP, and don't forget to grab yourself a drink, maybe a small snack, and we'll see you guys very soon.